Hi, everyone. Welcome back. We've got our fourth podcast today, and we are looking at the narcissist-empath relationship, which is a really, really big topic, and it's something that we see in our work all of the time, isn't it, Susie?
Absolutely. It's such a common dynamic.
Yeah, particularly for starseeds. So we're going to kind of talk about that today and how it affects different types of starseeds. But we thought we might just start by just talking about what a narcissist is, because it's been a bit of a buzzword over the last few years, hasn't it?
It is. It's a bit of a fad that's happening out there. My 12-year-old knows what a narcissist is. She uses the word so appropriately. I'm like,
I know that.
Do you know what this means?
That blew my mind when you told me about that. I was like, oh my gosh, the kids are talking about it. But I mean, that's just an example of how much it's sort of infiltrated our psyche, really. And it's important that people know what a narcissist is, particularly with the ascension process that we're going through too, because we're going through a period where everything's sort of coming up to light. So all the toxicity is going to be revealed, so we can kind of heal it and move away from it and kind of ascend on our path. So it's important that we know what a narcissist is. So basically, a narcissist is somebody who's got like a maladaptive personality trait where they can be incredibly self-centered and entitled, and they lack empathy. But there's different types of narcissists, and this is where it can kind of get a little bit tricky for people, because people sort of, generally when people think of a narcissist, they think of an overt narcissist. So, you know, the type of narcissist that throws tantrums when they don't get their own way, you know, like you're basically dealing with a toddler. Like I'm sure we all know one of those, right?
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Yeah. But there's a couple of other types of narcissists as well. And I would say that these other types are a little bit more dangerous when you're in a dynamic with them. So we have an overt narcissist as well. So an overt narcissist is basically someone who presents, I guess they present other personality traits come out, and they can be quite awful. And we also have the benevolent narcissist, who is a type of narcissist who looks like they're out there giving and they're amazing, and, you know, they're contributing to society, doing beautiful things, and they're very altruistic. Again, behind closed doors, they're treating their loved ones really, really poorly. So people can kind of get a little bit confused. And I think the other thing that's really important, this is something that I learned a long time ago about narcissism, when everybody was starting to talk about it all the time, because everyone was labeling everyone else and you know, a narcissist. You're going through a breakup and someone's like, oh, well, they're a narcissist, I had to break up with them, or, you know, my dad's a narcissist, my mum's a narcissist, like everyone's a narcissist. And in some respects, that's wrong. So if you think about narcissism like a spectrum, right? So at the top end of the spectrum, you would have someone who would have a full-blown narcissistic personality disorder, right? And at the bottom end of the spectrum, you've got people who are just regular people, you know, people like you and me, right? Who would still have some narcissistic tendencies, because we're a human experience. So everybody fits somewhere on the narcissism spectrum. People don't like hearing this, but it's the truth. And until we reach unity consciousness, that's kind of where it's at. So in some respects, you know, we are all narcissists because we're in a human experience. But that top end of the spectrum, those people that sort of sit at that top end of the spectrum, particularly people with narcissistic personality disorders, cause a lot of destruction in the lives of those around them. Yeah.
It can be quite detrimental to a lot of families and workplaces, and this does occur. Absolutely. And I think if you ask anybody, I think anyone can tell you at least one name or one person they know that has narcissistic tendencies. And, you know, you and I, we are definitely anti-labels, but what if we look at narcissism, we can attune it to being a kind of energy that exists in the collective, okay, the collective mind, okay? And this type of energy, yes, it's lower vibrational, but like you said, Lauren, it's a very important point to make. The reason why it's become a fad word, the reason why my 12-year-old and everybody else knows what a narcissist is because we're shining the spotlight on something in the collective mindset that is no longer in vibration with where we are ascending to. So if we look at, you know, narcissism, we want to look at it as an energy that runs through the collective, and certain individuals are matching that frequency and that vibration, and there are other individuals that are choosing not to match that frequency and vibration, that are wanting to purge that frequency from, you know, the collective on a micro level. Okay, so let's have a look. I think something that's very important is why are we bringing this up in a Starseed podcast? What is the relevance to Starseeds that, you know, we need to look at this dynamic? So basically, you know, Lauren and I, we see Starseeds all the time. A lot of our clients are Starseeds, and you know, this dynamic shows up in a lot of their relationships. The starseed soul, as you guys know, if you've listened to our previous episodes, is that soul that is of a higher vibration, that is used to operating in a civilization or an experience or a lifetime of a higher vibration than Earth. They come in with an expanded consciousness, and their natural go-to is to give, help, heal, because they come from service to others' societies. Okay, then they come into our Earth, into our vibration, and there's so much duality because we're still in the 4D. We haven't quite hit fifth density yet, and they don't understand why they're giving, and they're not receiving anything from anyone around them in return. Okay, they can be quite draining, and unfortunately, starseeds, I would say, are number one target for a narcissist.
Absolutely.
They are, I guess, an easy target for a narcissist because they're out there, they're ready to give, they're wanting to help, they're wanting to care, and they automatically take blame when blame or projection is thrown their way. Okay, they're quite selfless and quite humble in that way. So, you know, what Lauren and I do a lot of work around is helping those starseed souls form boundaries in this existence, healthy boundaries, so that, yes, they can still give to others, but notice the red flags when this narcissistic energy has come through in any of their relationships, where they do have to create and form healthy boundaries so that they don't empty themselves in a way where they don't have enough energy to give to the people who are, you know, needing their time, energy, and love. So, you know, and as we know, narcissism can get quite abusive. So if you feel like you are in that situation, do seek help. Do ask for help to get out of your situation, because it can have long-standing effects, not just on yourself, but your family as well. Okay, absolutely. So if we're going to go back to yes?
What type of, like, if we're talking about different types of starseeds, there's definitely some starseeds that are more prone to the narcissist empath relationship, you know.
Absolutely, Lauren, absolutely. If we look at the origins of how this energy, the narcissist entered this universe, we look at the typical healer empath dynamic, okay? The typical healer versus narcissist, or the empath versus narcissist dynamic. A lot of empaths and healers tend to attract the narcissists, and where this originated from is when, if you've listened to last week's episode on Lyra and the reptilians, this is where it originated. The first time that this energy entered this universe is when the reptilians were kind of sin-binned into our universe, came here looking for resources and to destroy and distract. And before their entry into the universe, the beings that lived here had no concept of the victor versus victim mentality. And so they didn't know the darkness. They didn't know the selfish, intentions, because they've only been living in selfless societies. And so when they brought this energy and this mentality and this level of consciousness into the universe, this was when basically the empath versus narcissist dynamic was birthed. And so Earth is probably one of the last civilizations, one of the last species in the universe to solve this problem, to rid the Earth of a collective issue, the selfish energy, the narcissistic energy, the dark energy that, a lot of the elites and etc. tune into at the moment, that we need to, heal and clear from our collective. But yeah, if you want to talk about back in the day, which kind of starseeds kind of were more, susceptible to this dynamic, definitely the Lyrans. Definitely the Lyrans. They were the first entry point in the universe. And so they were the first civilization to cop this. And unfortunately, they were the example of what you don't want happening to your society for the rest of the universe. So all eyes were on them when they got attacked, and the rest of the universe kind of mobilized, learned from the mistakes, learned from what happened, and prepared themselves. They went deep dive. I know the Palladians, Lauren, were one of them. They deep dived into, okay, what is the reptilian? What is that level of consciousness? What are they about? How can we overcome that darkness? Can we bring on more light? Do we need more balance, etc., etc.? And so this is when the Palladians deep dived into, how can we better deal with the narcissist energy that has entered our universe.
Interesting too that you say that, because we do see a lot of Pleiadian clients and a lot of Pleiadians on Earth, and even this has been my experience, who do end up in narcissistic relationships. And it's a big learning. It can quite often happen to help us awaken to, our gifts, but also help us to heal wounds inside of us that have attracted that energy. And because the Pleiades are so high vibe and loving, and we've spoken about they kind of come in boundaryless, which is perfect for a narcissist. A narcissist will always prey on someone who has got loose boundaries, because it's an easy entry point, right? And they'll always prey on someone who they'd quite like to be like, which is an interesting thing. So they're not hooking into people's energy that they don't really admire or that they don't like. They pick people who have got qualities that they would really, really like. So the Pleiadians, very loved species here on Earth, because they've got, these cool personalities, and people like to be on them, and they're popular and things like that, and quite accomplished. So that's why I think, on Earth, the Pleiadians have had to kind of go through that learning.
Yes, absolutely. And they do stand out, like you said, and they do attract that energy because they do want what they have. Okay. So the Palladians have that great balance between the masculine and the feminine. They're always wanting to give. And then they come in here, and their natural go-to is give. But then, like you said, they may meet a narcissist or end up in a relationship that's quite harmful for them, because they do attract those characters. But then it's only as a tool. They've written these things into their soul contract as a tool for them to awaken to their true power, to remember how to create those healthy boundaries, and to recognize that energy for what it is, so that they understand how to work around it, remember how to work around it, and remember how to protect themselves, and to speak up on the things that do matter, the things that are important, and that is the higher consciousness, and it is the selflessness that we're meant to be bringing, and the balance that we're meant to be bringing into this earth.
Absolutely, yeah. And I think too, with the narcissist sort of Pleiadian relationship. A lot of Pleiadians incarnate into families where they've got a narcissistic parent. I find that. Do you find that in your work?
Oh,
it's
my
a really
goodness.
common pattern.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. I get so many clients. I'm sure you're in the same, category as well. When they come in and they're this beautiful soul, high vibrational, you
Yes.
you figure out their starseed, and then they've got this one family member or character in their family who's the opposite of them and is wreaking havoc in their life, and they've stored all this trauma from their connection with this person. And it's our job to kind of help them hold space to clear that and understand what the soul contract is with that person. And it can be so informative, but they're typically, I think, placed in those families so that they can kind of trigger an awakening on purpose. If someone close to them is triggering them, then they have no other opportunity but to awaken to their themselves and their starseed self within this timeline, so that they can step into their purpose, or they can clear whatever it is that they need to clear. That's common, isn't it, Lauren? Yeah,
so common. And I think the other thing that's common too is, like, if you've got a starseed soul that's incarnated into a family where there's a narcissistic parent, quite often they will then go on to end up having relationships with narcissists or draw in friends that are narcissists, and it just kind of keeps happening until they actually have the awakening. So the awakening might not happen necessarily from the parent, might be all the damage that's been caused from that situation that then is being played out in maybe an intimate relationship, or even a business dynamic or a friendship. And it's that dynamic later on where the big trigger happens. Then they have to kind of go back and go, oh, right, this has been the pattern, my whole life. And just looking at it from a human point of view, not even a starseed point of view, basically what happens is, narcissists are notorious for creating highs and lows. And what happens is the nervous system or the body actually gets addicted to that pattern of highs and lows. So if you're in a long-term relationship with a narcissist, whether it's been whatever type of relationship, it's parental, intimate, whatever, your nervous system has been trained to seek those highs, and then it goes into the lows, and it's always seeking the highs. So the chemicals that are emitted when you get to that high point with a narcissist are far more addictive than any drug on this planet. And that's been proven. Yeah. So it's really hard for some people to extricate themselves from those relationships, because their body's so used to, getting these hits from the highs. Would you say that love bombing is a part of that high cycle?
Lauren?
Absolutely. Yeah. And so we were going to kind of talk about that next. What's sort of interesting about narcissism is that it follows they follow a behavior, and it's really quite unusual in terms of personality disorders. It's probably one of the only personality disorders that you can make assumptions about, because they all follow the same pattern of behavior, right? I find it so fascinating. I don't really know why, but the great thing about that is that if you're somebody who thinks you might be in a relationship with a narcissist, and I'm telling you now, if you're listening at home and you're Googling certain behaviors about somebody that you're in a relationship with, that's a red flag. Anytime you're jumping on Google and you're going, oh, what's narcissism? What's, what is this? What is that? Like that's you probably are in a relationship with a narcissist. But what we can do is we can educate ourselves around this pattern of behavior so that we can see it when it kind of comes up in our lives and in our relationships. So the first pattern that will happen when you're in contact with a narcissist is love bombing, or it's an idealization phase. So if a narcissist decides they want to be in a relationship with you, again, it can be any type of relationship. You've got something they want. And that could be energy. It could be certain personality traits. It could be resources. Like it can be anything, right? It could be all of those things. It is always an energetic thing. So they will hook into your energy, right? So they hook in with energetic cords. And we have the love bombing phase. So it's really intense. You'll feel like they'll make you feel like the most amazing person in the world. You'll feel so special. They'll shower you with gifts and compliments. They'll really quickly insert themselves into your life. And what they'll do is they'll mirror all the things that you want in another person. They'll mirror that back to you. So you'll feel like you've almost met a soulmate, right? But they do that by watching you and learning behaviors. So it's very manipulative.
Wow.
Yeah. Wild, right?
Yeah.
You've got all those you've got all those amazing like chemicals kind of happening, and you think, oh, this just feels so incredible, right? Yeah. And then what happens is during that phase, they will get you to commit to them in some way. There'll be some sort of commitment where either it's a financial commitment, or maybe you sign a lease with them, or you might move in with them, or whatever.
A relationship commitment, marriage, even.
Yeah, some sort of relation, or a business commitment, or something where they've been able to tangibly attach to you during that love bombing phase, right? Now, the interesting thing about narcissists is that they can't sustain a love bombing phase because there's a lot of self-hatred going on inside a narcissist and a really insecure, false sense of self. So the love bombing is just, it's not real. And so then what happens is the next phase is a devaluation phase where they drop their mask and you start to see who they really are, right? So if you're with it depends what type of a narcissist you're with. If you're with an overt narcissist, you're probably going to see some pretty big and kind of nasty behavior. With a covert narcissist or even a benevolent narcissist, it's much more insidious. It's much quieter, and they kind of test the waters a little bit. Like I always explain it like, it's not a good analogy at all. I hate this analogy. I need to think of a better one, but it's like the frog in boiling water. So you're kind of in this sort of abusive situation, but it's happening so slowly that you don't realize that you're being boiled, basically. So the behavior creeps up kind of over time. And so the devaluation phase, there's criticism, like you feel like you can't do anything right. You're walking on eggshells. Nothing you do is making them happy. And then that goes into, basically will turn into a discard phase after that. So the discard phase happens usually when the narcissist has had enough of you, and they've gotten what they need from you, they'll discard you. The discard phase can also happen when you assert a boundary toward a narcissist and they don't like it. They're like,
this is interesting. Yeah. Because I think, you've probably seen this in your clients as well, but, our job is to help them create these healthy boundaries and see them through that process. And, 9 out of 10 times, I'm sure you've seen the same thing, Lauren. They put down the boundary and then they come back off and say, oh my goodness, they ran away or they didn't like it and they projected, they got very angry. And I haven't heard from them since. So I think there's this meme going around the internet that says the only people that are not happy with the boundaries that you put down are the ones that are enjoyed crossing them.
100%. So that can be a good thing in a way. Like I always say, anytime you get discarded from a narcissist, you need to be cheering. Like it's the best outcome. What can happen though after that? What can happen after that? There's a fourth thing that kind of happens, and this is where it cycles back around. After the discard phase, if the narcissist still feels like there's potential for them to get more out of the relationship for whatever reason, they will try and hoover you back in. right? So the love bombing starts, right? And so basically you can have, like, I've had clients who have been in 40-year relationships with narcissists, and they are constantly cycling through these 4 cycles, you know, just constantly over, that can happen over decades. Yeah, it's exhausting, right? So what will happen though, once they won't hoover back in once they think that there's nothing left for them in that relationship, like there's no energy left for them there, or if you decide to really go no contact, they'll try and hoover for a little bit, and then eventually they'll find somebody else. So a narcissist has always got to have an energy source, and unfortunately that's people for a narcissist. So they're always going to be hooked into someone's energy. And that's why when they come to see us, we're cutting cords, we're pulling energetic cords and transmuting cords, because that narcissist is hooked into someone's energy.
Absolutely. And it's interesting, whenever I do see a client that's had some sort of relationship or connection with a narcissist, always shows up in the root chakra. And the root chakra is it's the red center, the center of grounding, of the home, of, you know, feelings of belonging, of, you know, physical concerns and financial concerns. It's the survival center.
Safety. So that's the safety center.
Safety. Yeah. So they're affecting people's basic needs for survival, which is so dangerous.
I know. This is a big topic and can be quite triggering. So if you feel like you're in an abusive relationship with a narcissist, you do need to seek help. And my advice would be, seek out a professional who, and this is going to be a little bit controversial, we're going to say the internet can come after me, that's fine. Seek out a professional who's got lived experience with dealing with a narcissist. And has healed through that, and that will be the best person for you to work with, because I think that people who haven't experienced an abusive narcissistic relationship, and I don't think it matters how many degrees you've got or how empathetic you are, it's the most soul-destroying thing that you will go through. And I think that you need to work with someone who completely understands that process. But there are a lot of like counselors and coaches and healers out there, and psychologists who do have that lived experience, and they're dedicating their work towards it, which is amazing.
Absolutely. Now, Lauren, something that's come up for me, would you say that one of the typical narcissistic traits would be they always kind of have to tell you what they're doing?
Oh, I love this. Yeah. This is and this is
before
the
they
reptilian
actually
trait
do it.
too.
Yes.
Yeah. That's the reptilian trait as well. So it's that energy, right?
Yes. Only recently have I made that connection, because I'm looking at, because you and I both talk about that reptilian trait all the time, because it's in the media, it's in politics. I have to tell you what they're doing. So because of the law of free will, right? Because then we have to buy into that, but they package it in a way where it's absolutely necessary. We accept whatever it is that they're giving because it's good for us, but we all know it's not good for us, right? So they're very charismatic in the way that they package what they want to reap off us. And so and then I had to think about it, and I thought, actually, I know some narcissists that do that too, that they tell you, oh yeah, I'm cheating on you, but it's for your own good, you know, and they package it in a way that's really insightful, and it's I need this is the best I can do. I have to put up with this, right? They'll do it in a way where they'll make it out like they're doing you a massive favor, and that's a key with a narcissist. That's key with any sort of narcissistic toxicity. They're always doing a massive favor. Meanwhile, they're causing mass destruction in your life, right? Yeah, absolutely.
And that's the thing. And you're never, ever going to get accountability from a narcissist, and you're never, ever going to get closure from a narcissist. So I see a lot of people, and I'm sure you do too, where they've come out of a narcissistic relationship And, you know, when you exit a normal relationship in a healthy way, you know, you have your talk about the breakup, and, you know, you can't, it's really sad, and you know, you might be devastated. You put your assets and kind of move on. And maybe, you know, if you're lucky down the line, you can be friends with each other. But you will never have that when you're not dealing with someone whose brain works in the same way as yours. So you're seeking closure for something because that's how you feel like it would be healthy to move on. They don't think that way. Like, once they've discarded you, you're basically dead to them.
Yeah.
Like, and that's awful, but that's the truth.
Absolutely. Once they've reaped everything they possibly can from you and your energy, and they realize they can't move anything else out of you, you're dead to them. And that can be very devastating to a lot of people on receiving it. Yeah. Yeah. It is dangerous, you know, entering into any sort of connection with a narcissist. You've got to be very careful. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I mean, the impact can be, for people who have been in these relationships, the impact can be, you know, they end up not being able to regulate their emotions. There's anxiety, depression, PTSD. They feel like they've lost their sense of self. Like, quite often people will come out of a relationship with a narcissist and they're just like a bit of a shell of their former self.
Yeah.
It's spiritual warfare, don't you think? It's like a spiritual war that's happening. Yeah, when you're in that type of relationship.
They soften their spirit and their energy. They both are connected. So I'm left feeling like I don't know who I am, because I've been so used to being told who I am for so many years with this person in my life, you know?
Yeah.
And it takes a lot of work to undo the damage of a narcissist, but it can be done. The healing process, you know, it's tried and tested, and you just have to have that mind and intention and the will to go on that journey. And it is possible to heal and pick up the pieces of narcissistic connection.
And it's amazing, you know, when you kind of come out of that healing journey and you've kind of refound yourself, but you're a stronger version of yourself. And I'll tell you what, you would never let another one back into your life after that, once you've healed up. And that's the beauty of it. And you can heal from it. I have probably the last 3 years of my work has been pretty heavily based on helping people heal through narcissistic relationships. And I feel like it's been some of the most, if not the most rewarding work of my career, watching people come out on the other side of that and reclaim their lives and go on to live really healthy, amazing lives, and end up in, my favorite bit is when they end up in beautiful new relationships that are super healthy. That's my favorite bit. Yeah. I love a bit of romance, and I just think it's wonderful to see. It's just so heartwarming after, you know, people who've had these years and years of like being in these awful relationships, and then they do the healing that's necessary, and then their vibration changes and they attract in, you know, a beautiful partner or a beautiful friend or a beautiful job opportunity. And it's so lovely to see.
Should we touch lightly before we wrap things up on the typical things within the empath or the healer's like psyche or energetic state that does attract, you know, these narcissists to their vibration? Yeah.
I think so. And then I think we should finish up with how we kind of heal from the narcissistic relationship as well. Yeah. Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah. So typical things that, you know, the empath or the healer may be experiencing that attracts these narcissists to their, you know, their lives, their vibration, that they want to siphon from them. You know, self-love block is a big one. Okay. Self-love block, self-esteem blocks, not believing in yourself, not viewing yourself as equal or worthy to others. wanting to people please, maybe growing up in a household where the way you got attention is by people pleasing towards the parents, and so that you carry that on into your relationships to get that attention. And then the narcissist picks up that, oh yeah, this is easy prey here. She's people pleasing. She's going to do whatever I tell her to do, or he's going to tell.
Yeah, they love
them to do.
Love people pleasers, don't they, narcissists?
Yeah, they absolutely love people pleasers. They love people who have very, very blurry boundaries, very unclear boundaries, that don't have any boundaries. I see a lot of and this might be a whole podcast episode altogether, but I see a lot of the opening a can of worms here, the toxic feminines being lured into this dynamic, because if you look at the toxic feminine, it's the type of feminine that always wants to give until they martyr themselves and they've got nothing left, and they completely neglect themselves. So a lack of self-love, a lack of self-care, and they find themselves in these relationships, and of course they crash really quickly and really easily.
Yeah.
It's easy for the narcissist. So if you think this might be you, there is hope, right, Lawrence? You're going to talk about.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And I think the other couple of ones that I sort of see are people with abandonment wounds. Really, really common. So if you've got an abandonment wound, that's amazing for a narcissist, because they're gonna figure that out pretty quickly, because in that love bombing phase, they're also getting to know everything about you. You're going to be having the big, deep and meaningful conversations, and you're sort of thinking, oh, this is incredible. Like, I feel like I've kind of, am able to really bare my soul to this person, but they're gathering information about you that they're going to use at a later time. So they're clocking, right, okay, we've got an abandonment wound. We've got self-esteem issues. There's some loose boundaries there. That's going to be perfect, right? So with an abandonment wound, they're going to figure out pretty quickly that you're not going to leave. Because that's your biggest fear. Your biggest fear is being left, right? So, or, having people leave you. So they can behave however they want, and they're going to know that you're going to take them back because you don't want anyone to leave you. And the other one too would be an anxious attachment style, very similar, which kind of can go hand in hand with an abandonment wound, where, you're going to forgive them because you can't handle the conflict. You just need everything to be fine. So you've got that kind of anxious attachment style where when there's a rupture or a conflict in a relationship, you want it resolved really quickly, and you're willing to resolve it without, things being properly addressed.
Yeah, looking at the core issue.
Yeah.
Just sweep it under the.
That's right. Let's move on. And so, because I don't want to feel anxious like this, I don't, but the way that we can kind of heal from narcissistic relationships, the first thing you need to do is to start educating yourself about narcissism and the cycles of behavior that are kind of going on. And once you sort of get your head around that, and learn some different tactics to kind of deal with a narcissist, that can be really helpful. I think energetic cord cutting is really, really important. It's a huge one. It's not something talked about very much, but that's something that both of us do with our clients. Now, the interesting thing about cord cutting is we can cut those cords, but if you haven't healed the wounds inside of you that have attracted the narcissist in, then the cords can reattach during a hoovering process or in a new relationship. So really, the key way that you heal from a narcissist is to heal all of the wounds inside of you that attracted them in the first place. So if you've got an abandonment wound, you heal that. If you've got self-esteem issues, you heal that. If you've got self-love issues, you heal that. There's always boundary issues that need to be healed, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, there's so much.
Yeah.
But it is definitely possible. Okay, I think up.
absolutely. Yeah. Until next time.
Absolutely. And what do we have on the agenda for next episode? Have we discussed that yet? There's so much.
We haven't. I might just throw a topic out and we'll see.
Okay.
How do you feel about talking about the ascension process?
Ooh, yes. We've had a lot of questions about that, right? A lot of listeners.
Yeah. I thought that.
Us and asked what's happening with this new Earth situation, the 5D. Can you explain that a bit more? We can definitely go into that next episode. Sounds awesome. Okay, lovely to chat with you, and see you next time. Bye.
See you guys. Bye.